Film genres are like fashion trends. Big one day and then gone with the wind.
Well, I might have expected it.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie genres that died out. Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at those popular genres that have lost momentum and popularity over the years, or that are just not made anymore. Number 10, musicals.
Tonight, there's only you tonight.
Although some of our most beloved and classic films are musicals, like West Side Story, The Sound of Music, and Grease, these are just not able to turn a profit anymore. Early Hollywood released original musicals all the time, while the later Hollywood format would take popular Broadway musicals and give them the big screen treatment.
So long, farewell, I'll read it saying goodbye.
Although that still happens on occasion, with mixed results, Broadway's booming business is now stealing from Hollywood instead.
In somebody's eyes, to light up the skies, to open the world and send it real.
While there's still the occasional odd hit like La La Land or Les Miserables, we're lucky if we get one of these big-budget gems a year.
Empty chairs at empty tables.
Number 9, hood films.
Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.
With the rise of hip-hop, rap, and urban fashion taking over pop culture in the late 80s, it wasn't long before young, talented African-American film directors like the Hughes brothers, John Singleton, and Spike Lee started sharing their experiences on the big screen. Major hits like Boys in the Hood and Dangerous Minds brought the racially charged tension of the inner city to the forefront and opened the eyes of millions of moviegoers. These films both thrived and then quickly died in the mid-90s, pretty much the moment the Wayans brothers decided to parody them.
Salary design. $3 million. Cash.
Number 8, torture porn.
Live or die. Make your choice.
The success of Saw was something that the horror community didn't expect. Although it was an original and engaging thriller, the studios decided that audiences didn't care much about story or character, but would keep coming back for the gore. Well, sadly, they were right, as audiences flocked back for the endless sequels and copycat films. Movies like Hostel and The Collector took a cue from the splatter films of the 60s and aimed solely to gross fans out.
No!
The sudden rise of the torture porn subgenre changed the face of horror for a few years during the 2000s, but like most horror subgenres, quickly faded from the spotlight. Number 7, romantic comedies.
I guess I don't remember meeting you.
Well, it's probably because we've never met.
Romance films have been and always will be a popular commodity, and big hits with audiences. As the years have gone by, romance has changed with the times. While we no longer see the screwball hijinks of the 30s and 40s or the musical love stories of the 50s and 60s, the romantic comedy had a long, steady run since its Billy Crystal and Tom Hanks days of the 1980s.
When you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
The quirky love affairs of films like The Proposal and Failure to Launch brought rom-coms to the new millennium, but have since been dethroned by sappy Nicholas Sparks adaptations. All rom, no com.
You should be kissed. Every day, every hour, every minute.
Number 6, YA adaptations.
This kind of stuff just doesn't exist.
Does in my world.
The success of franchises like Twilight and The Hunger Games was so huge that you can't blame the studios for raiding the young adult sections of their bookstores overnight for ideas.
Whoa. What did that piano ever do to you?
However, lightning would not strike again, as Hollywood quickly learned, with adaptations like The Mortal Instruments, the Divergent series, and Beautiful Creatures becoming critical, and some even financial duds.
We don't have powers to just change things whenever we like.
All attempts to create the next big franchise died quick deaths at the box office, while quieter YA adaptations did fairly well, but are rarely heard from during the early 2010s.
You're so beautiful.
Number 5, slasher films.
Michael?
Thanks to a little film called Halloween, film studios tuned into the morbid attraction of slasher films. All kinds of masked killers reigned supreme throughout the 80s and revitalized the home video market with cheap, entertaining, over-the-top horror manias. Although oversaturation killed the genre dead by the 90s, Wes Craven's Scream both brought the genre back from the dead and showed us how ridiculous slasher films are come mid-decade.
Cause let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel!
However, thanks in part to Scream, as well as the rise of torture porn, the slasher renaissance was butchered to death before it even had a chance.
Don't you want to be an urban legend? All your friends are now.
Number 4. Found footage.
I'm so sorry.
The found footage gimmick has been used frequently in horror throughout the years, usually with mixed results. The Notorious Cannibal Holocaust and the Blair Witch Project were smart manipulations and subversive thrill rides. However, the moment Paranormal Activity exploded into cinemas and studios saw how much they could accomplish with such a minute budget, all hell broke loose. For a while, it seemed all horror films were using found footage techniques and received worse and worse reviews. But thankfully, they're also now practically extinct from our theaters. The straight-to-DVD bin, though, is another story. Number 3. Parody films.
My name, it's pronounced Frankenstein.
Parody films may not have always been major hits, but they were always around to send you into a fit of giggles. The blockbuster gold of the 80s and 90s, with hits like the Airplane, Hot Shots, and Naked Gun series, created comedy classics and made comedy superstars out of serious actors like Charlie Sheen and Leslie Nielsen.
Well, when I see 5 weirdos dressed in togas stabbing a guy in the middle of the park in full view of 100 people, I shoot the bastards. That's my policy.
However, things slowly went downhill from there, as the quality of these films progressively declined. From the Wayans brothers and their Scary Movie franchise to the abysmal attempts by Jason Friedberg and Aaron Seltzer.
Behold, my white castle.
Number 2. Film Noir.
Maybe he's dead. Maybe, but he's still jumping out there.
More of a product of the time, film noir was more of a stylistic choice that grew to immense popularity in the 1940s and 50s. The genre's dangerous and violent stories and mysteriously shadow aesthetics gave the pristine Hollywood machine some gritty realism.
We're sunk and we'll have to pay through the nose, and you know it.
While the days of Humphrey Bogart and Edward G. Robinson may be long gone, we occasionally get some great neo-noir films towards the end of the 20th century, like Blade Runner and Basic Instinct. But they're no longer a staple of cinemas today. Even so, some of the aesthetics are nevertheless used in the early 21st century, such as in films like John Wick.
You working again?
No, just sorting some stuff out.
Before we reveal our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
Children of the night, what music they make.
Number 1. Westerns.
Well, there's some things a man just can't run away from.
Sadly considered by many modern moviegoers to be boring and out of style, Westerns saw an immediate drop in popularity after the 1960s. The star power of John Wayne and Glenn Ford piqued the interest of audiences, and they flocked to see daring cowboys and Indians' adventures.
I don't go around just shooting people down. I mean, that isn't nice, you know.
The genre was so popular, it even took over televisions in the 1950s. While spaghetti westerns out of Italy brought a bit of new life to the genre, and some remakes today do fairly well, like True Grit and Magnificent Seven, you'll mostly have a hard time finding an original and good western adventure to watch these days.
I've always been lucky with one-eyed jacks.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.